Everybody, how you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from the Black Business School and the Black Wealth Boot Camp. Dr. Martin Luther King is a person that's obviously iconic and respected and everything else, and almost inexplicably, a lot of Americans at least try to pretend like they admire Dr. King, and I think that's a good thing for the country. It says that people try to do the right thing even if they don't, and Dr. King certainly just deserves that respect and admiration. We would never say that he doesn't, but there are a few things that people don't really know and understand about Dr. King. And I think it's important to kind of talk about this because there are a lot of lies and misperceptions that go out there. A lot of people water down his legacy. A lot of people make him look almost like a punk, make him look very soft and weak. And there's a lot of work, there's a lot of vested interest in kind of protecting this false legacy of Dr. King. Even when his monument was put up in Washington, I'll admit that I wasn't all that excited to see it because I felt that they whitewashed him. They watered down some of his most impactful, most meaningful statements. And they really want you to believe Dr. King is something that he was not. The first thing you should really know about Dr. King that a lot of people don't know is that Dr. King was very unpopular in his last years. In fact, if you look at the Gallup poll for the 10 most admired Americans in the country between 1963 and 1967, Dr. King was only on the list 2 times. And also, in fact, when they did a measure of how many people looked at him positively versus negatively, 1964, I believe, was when he won the Nobel Peace Prize. But in 1963, he only had 41% positive, 37% negative. And then in 1966, 2 years before he died, it was 32% positive and 63% negative. So a lot of people didn't like Dr. King at that time. And in fact, his perception had gotten so negative that Gallup just stopped measuring it. They didn't measure it in 67 and 68. And that was when he really started pissing people off. He actually started speaking about the war in Vietnam, which I believe was one of the things that led to his assassination. Dr. King was murdered by the government. Don't believe any stories about him being killed by some lone gunman and all this stuff. His family proved in court that Dr. King was killed by the government. It was proven in a lawsuit in 1990. And I think they wanted the public to know this, but of course the media really isn't going to put out that kind of thing because they don't want to upset the government. Washington Post, New York Times, some of these major news outlets. They're not going to upset the government to speak on behalf of something that might be important to black people. That's why they covered up the crack cocaine epidemic and how that started with the Iran-Contra affair back in the 1980s. Beyond that, Dr. King, he also spoke on something that probably got him into even more trouble, which was reparations and economic equality. Reparations and economic equality. This is probably the most important work Dr. King did, in my opinion, because really it's the economic equality issue that has really held black people back. Political advancements and civil rights are very nice, but they really don't mean much if you don't have any wealth in your community, if you don't have institutions in your community, if you don't have infrastructure in your community. And so if you hear some of Dr. King's speeches, especially when he started his Poor People's Campaign, which again, ironically, occurred right before he was assassinated, where he's talking about redistribution of wealth. He's talking about, he says, we're in Washington to get our check. And he's talking about the fact that in the early part of the 20th century, white people got a major set of handouts from the government. I'm talking about billions and billions and billions of dollars to develop economic infrastructure. They were in the Midwest in particular, but really all throughout the country. In the Midwest, they were given land. They were given land grant institutions. They were given low interest loans so they could farm the land with the best machinery. They were given all kinds of subsidies, all these things that gave them a leg up. And this wealth and this land is still in their families to this day. A lot of the people that have wealth in America got this wealth in programs and situations that black people were excluded from. So when people say reparations are that the black people don't deserve it and it's just not right and it's reverse racism, that's nonsense. That's just stupid. That's just part of the propaganda that you're fed when you're lied to about Dr. King. So when you think about Dr. King, every year when his birthday comes up and people try to celebrate it, don't let people celebrate Dr. King's life with nonsense and with a bunch of lies. Go dig up the truth. Find out what this man was really about. Don't let them just weaken and water down his legacy. His family sacrificed too much. A lot of people don't know this too, and this is the last thing I'll leave you with. I'm actually thinking about this because I have a Dr. King speech I'm going to give tomorrow. His brother Alfred was actually killed, or sorry, scratch that. his brother, died, ironically, a year and 3 months after him. He died. His body was found in the swimming pool, and his father couldn't understand it because he was a very good swimmer. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. He actually died in my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, and and I don't think it was ironic that he was actually somebody that people considered to be in line to be the next president of the SCLC. So there's been a lot that's happened, a lot of sacrifices that have been made on our behalf, and it's really up to us to really pick up that torch and really carry that thing as far as it's meant to go. And you're not going to carry the torch to the destination if you allow media to lie to you and have you carrying the torch in the wrong direction. Forget the whole "we shall overcome" thing. Forget the whole, one-time speech, "I have a dream," and all this other stuff that people feed you at these really weak, watered-down Dr. King dinners. If we're going to celebrate the man, let's celebrate his legacy and his life in an honest fashion. Let's really talk about the truth. Well, that's it. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from the Black Business School and the Black Wealth Boot Camp. Please take care. God bless. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.